warm golden light streamed through the lace curtains of the Carlisle family's Castle Rock, Colorado home, lengthening the afternoon shadows across the dining room table. It was mid-1997, 3 years since little Ria's disappearance. And though it was supposed to be a reunion, something tense and unresolved lingered in the air. Emma Carlisle sat rigidly, twisting her wedding band on her trembling fingers. Across from her, her husband David reached over, gently resting a hand on her shoulder, a silent gesture of support neither one fully understood, yet both desperately needed. Frank Morrison, the private investigator brought in to help, shifted his wire-rimmed glasses and spread a collection of prints and papers across the polished mahogany. He had a face weathered by years of searching for missing souls. "I followed up on those leads near Denver," he began, voice low and deliberate. "There was a mall sighting, but the footage is too grainy to say for sure." At the corner of the table, David's younger brother Ryan leaned forward. His sandy brown hair fell into his eyes as he peered at the fuzzy image. "That could be anyone," he murmured, his voice tight. "The height doesn't match." By the window, Lucille Carlisle, the family's matriarch at 72, sat with her hands folded neatly in her lap. Her silver hair, pulled back in a precise bun, somehow made her look older than her years since Ria vanished. Yet her eyes still carried a spark of fierce determination. "We can't give up hope," she proclaimed, her voice slightly quivering but resolute. "Ria is out there. Somewhere." Emma's gaze drifted to the framed photograph on the sideboard. Ria in her sparkling blue pageant dress, the satin sash proclaiming princess slung across her tiny shoulder. Her blonde curls were spent, her grin enchanting, the very image that won her crown just hours before she disappeared in 1994. Emma traced a fingertip across the smooth glass, feeling the familiar ache in her chest. "Had we reached out to other Pageant families again?" David asked, voice steady despite the grief he carried deep within. Emma knew he too hoped someone, anyone, might recall something new. Morrison nodded as he shuffled through his papers. "I've spoken with several families. Most have moved on. Many have stopped competing. The Williamson family in Phoenix thought they saw someone resembling Ria at a competition last year, but that lead fizzled," he admitted, shaking his head. Silence filled the room except for the rhythmic tick of the grandfather clock in the corner. 2 hours of revisiting old leads, cross-referencing theories, hoping for a breakthrough that never came. Morrison was explaining how they were coordinating between states when the phone's sharp ring cut through the stillness. Emma started, then rose with tension. "I'll get it," she said, voice unsteady but relieved, for a moment, from the weight of another meeting filled with dead ends. In the kitchen, she lifted the handset. "Carlisle residence, Mrs. Carlisle?" A calm, professional voice replied. "This is Detective Brennan with Castle Rock PD. I know you're meeting with Mr. Morrison now. I apologize for interrupting. We've had a handwriting expert review some old evidence, and we'd like to compare it with samples of Ria's handwriting. Could you bring in her old school notebooks or textbooks?" "New evidence?" Emma's voice wavered, and she heard murmurs from the other room. Everyone freezing, holding their breath. The detective replied, quieter. "I can't discuss details over the phone, but it would be very helpful if you could bring anything with Ria's writing. Notebooks, schoolwork, diaries, anything substantial." "Of course," Emma said, her mind already racing through the attic and basement where Ria's things had been stored 3 long years ago. "I'll bring them right away." She exchanged a look with David as she returned to the table. "Detective Brennan wants handwriting samples. They've got new evidence." Morrison's eyebrows shot up. "New evidence? They didn't mention that to me. Where are her school materials?" David rubbed his forehead, trying to recall. "I packed them there at Ryan's, somewhere." Ryan pulled out his keychain and methodically rattled 2 keys before extending them to Emma. "This brass one opens the front door. he explained quietly, "and the silver ones for the basement. We had to spread her things between here and the attic. The school stuff is in the basement, under the stairs." Emma nodded, determination settling over her grief. "I'll go. Please, you all continue. This is important." She tucked the keys into her jacket pockets, each metal loop feeling heavier than the last. David rose, offering to accompany her. "Let me." Emma placed a gentle hand on his chest. "Stay. Finish the meeting. I'll be back soon." With tight hugs and whispered reassurances, she stepped out into the late June breeze, the oak leaves rustling overhead. Just a 10-minute walk to Ryan's house, where shadows of happier times now awaited, and maybe, this time, a path forward. As Emma stepped outside into the waning light, she firmly closed Ryan's front door behind her, the cool metal knob still warm from her hand. Clutched tightly to her chest were Ria's school materials, a bundle of faded memories and unspoken grief. Her breath caught when she saw Frank Morrison just about to step off their porch, his weathered leather briefcase swinging gently at his side. She picked up her pace, jogging the last few steps. "Mr. Morrison," she called out, slightly breathless from emotion and exertion. "I'm sorry about earlier." The investigator turned, offering her a weary smile as he waved off the apology. "No trouble at all, Mrs. Carlyle. Police work takes precedence. Hopefully it leads to something useful," he said, his voice carrying that all-too-familiar mix of cautious optimism and deep-seated resignation that had echoed through every conversation over the past 3 years. Emma watched as his sedan disappeared down the quiet neighborhood street before stepping back inside the house, where the remnants of the meeting lingered like the aftertaste of something bittersweet. David, Ryan, and Lucille were still seated at the dining table, now tidied and cleared, the weight of unresolved questions resting in the silence. "I got everything," Emma announced softly, setting the school materials down. David reached for one of the notebooks, his thumb brushing across its worn cover. "4th grade," he murmured, eyes distant. She was so proud of her cursive that year. Emma forced a nod, her throat tightening as she tried to keep her emotions in check. "Did Morrison say anything before he left?" "Just the usual," Ryan replied, stretching back in his chair. "Follow up on the pageant leads. Same suggestions, same dead ends." Lucille, ever the quiet force of practicality, stood and gathered the remaining dishes. "No sense dwelling on it now," she said gently. "You two should get to the station. I'll tidy up here. The kitchen's still a disaster from lunch." Despite her age, she moved with practiced efficiency, a woman long used to managing messes both physical and emotional. Ryan rose as well. "I'll drive her home later. You two go." Emma turned to both of them, her voice laced with gratitude. "Thank you. Both of you." 10 minutes later, she and David were in their aging Ford Taurus, heading toward the Castle Rock police station. Emma clutched Ria's belongings in her lap like they might break. If not in form, then in spirit. Her fingertips traced the ridges of the notebook covers, as if by touch alone she could pull Ria closer. The police station was a squat, unimpressive building on the edge of downtown. Its parking lot was only half full, but the tension in Emma's chest grew as they approached. Through the glass doors, she spotted Detective Brennan walking briskly, checking his watch with clear frustration. They rushed inside. "Mrs. Carlyle, you're late," Brennan said, not cruelly, but with unmistakable urgency. "I'm sorry," Emma replied quickly. "I had to find the right box. The materials were buried in the basement." Brennan's eyes softened as he took the bundle from her arms. "It's all right. Let's use my office." They followed him down the corridor, familiar now after years of painful visits. His office was cramped, cluttered with overflowing folders and the quiet hum of his computer. Emma placed the notebooks on the only clear space on his desk, then hesitated, offering another apology. Don't worry about it, Brennan said, flipping open a notebook. Actually, I need to bring something up. It might be hard to hear. He looked up, the lines on his face suddenly deeper. For practical reasons, he said slowly, we think it's best to move all of Ria's belongings back to your home. Emma blinked. David leaned in. Why? What if a lead comes in at 2 a.m.? We've had delays before because things were stored off-site. Clothing, toys, personal items. We need to access them quickly. David's jaw clenched. We moved her things to my brother's place because it was too painful, he said, the words catching in his throat. Every object was like a scar. I understand, Brennan said, his tone gentler. I'm not here to judge. It's just a logistical concern. Emma shifted in her seat. Something gnawed at her. She hadn't thought she'd taken long today, but she did recall the sound of tape tearing. Only one box had already been open. The Hello Kitty bowl. Sitting on top, not packed neatly. Had David reopened it at some point and forgotten? She made a quiet mental note to ask him later. Maybe it was nothing. But maybe it wasn't. We'll consider it, David said finally. Maybe it's time. Brennan nodded and checked his watch again. Thank you for bringing these. We'll contact you once we analyze the handwriting. The meeting ended as swiftly as it began. As Brennan hurried to his car, Emma and David lingered in the parking lot, the late sun casting gold across the pavement. Their drive home was nearly silent until David finally spoke, voice low and tentative. What do you think? About bringing her things home? Emma exhaled slowly. He makes a good point. It has been 3 years. And he's right. About access. About practicality, but also... David paused, eyes on the road. Maybe we're strong enough now. Emma looked over at him, then down at her lap. When I saw that bowl, it was like she was still there. Like she'd just had breakfast. Her voice cracked. Maybe her soul should be home. With us. David reached across and squeezed her hand. Then we'll do it. When they pulled into the driveway, Ryan's car was still there. Inside, they found Lucille drying dishes, Ryan wiping down the table. How did it go? Lucille asked. Quick, Emma said. He took everything, but he made a suggestion. David took over. He thinks we should move Ria's things back here, in case something urgent comes up. Lucille considered the idea. That's fine, dear. It doesn't matter to me where her things are, as long as it helps. But Ryan's reaction was immediate and sharp. Wait, what? Why would they say that? His voice rose, unusually heated. That's not their business. Emma stepped back, surprised by his intensity. Ryan, we didn't mean to offend. I'm not offended, he interrupted, though his flushed face said otherwise. I'm just shocked. This is personal. It's not their job to tell us where to store our grief. His voice hung in the air like a blade. And for the first time, Emma wondered, why did that bowl look like it had been touched so recently? Ryan's voice echoed with frustration as he paced across the living room, his arms crossed tightly. One real clue in 3 years, and now they're worried about where we store boxes? He scoffed, shaking his head. The private investigator we hired has done more in a few months than the police have done since Ria disappeared. David stepped forward calmly, trying to keep the rising heat of his own emotions in check. I agree. The police have been agonizingly slow, but Emma and I were talking on the way back. We think we're ready now to bring her things home. Emma nodded, her voice softer but no less determined. Exactly. We hired Morrison because he believes there's still something out there. New leads, new hope. If we find her, and God, I hope we do, she should come home to her room, her belongings, not to an empty space. That would break her heart. Lucille, silent until now, looked between them with quiet wisdom. She has a point, Ryan. Ryan's shoulders slumped, the tension deflating like air from a balloon. His voice, when he spoke, was lower, steadier. Yeah, you're right. That makes more sense than the cops' logistics argument. He rubbed the back of his neck, sheepish. I'm sorry. I guess I got too wound up again. I'm so tired of waiting and watching time slip away. Emma stepped beside him, placing a hand on his arm. We know how much you love Rhea. You've always been there. It's not anger. It's pain. We feel it too. David nodded, and since we're both off work today, why not do this together? Let's bring her home. Ryan straightened, purpose overtaking his earlier agitation. All right. I'll head over and start organizing the boxes. You guys clean out the attic, and I'll have everything ready by the time you arrive. What followed was a whirlwind of motion and memory. Emma and David spent the afternoon clearing space in their attic, displacing Ryan's old hiking gear and textbooks, rehoming Lucille's boxes of vintage electronics and dusty kitchenware to the basement. It was exhausting, both physically and emotionally. Every item moved was another small acknowledgement that life had kept going in Rhea's absence, and that now it might be time to invite her memory fully back in. By the time they pulled into Ryan's driveway, the golden light of late summer filtered through the trees like a whisper. David immediately headed for the basement. I'll start down here, he called, already assessing logistics. Let's confirm what we need to move. I'll check the attic, Emma replied. She ascended the narrow staircase, finding the attic door ajar. Ryan appeared at the threshold, arms full with a heavy box. Perfect timing, he said, slightly winded. I'm taking this to the car. While he descended, Emma surveyed the attic. The main area was cleared, but her attention was drawn to the far door, the one that led to the upper space Rhea had once claimed as her playroom. It struck her then how she had nearly forgotten about that special place. How many evenings had Rhea giggled and played up there while Emma worked late or David cooked dinner? The door was locked. Emma fished through her pocket for Ryan's keys and found one labeled Playroom in his neat block letters. The lock clicked, but the door stuck, swollen with age and moisture. She leaned into it and it gave way, releasing a breath of stale, musty air that smelled like lost time. Emma's chest tightened. The walls still bore the faintest outline of Rhea's stickers and scribbles. Dinosaurs and stars, princesses and planets. It was like opening a time capsule buried in grief. In the corner, a few boxes were stacked, but what caught her eye was the Hello Kitty bowl. The twin to the one from the basement. Except this one wasn't empty. Emma stepped closer, nose wrinkling. A rancid, earthy stench hit her, sharp and sour. The bowl's contents were buried beneath layers of mold, thick with black and green fuzz that masked whatever food had once been inside. The sight repulsed her, but some inner force compelled her to pick it up, her hands trembling. She turned, stepping onto the landing just as Ryan reappeared. His gaze immediately fell to the bowl. "What's that? God, it smells awful." "I found it in the playroom," Emma replied, her voice tight. "Was it Rhea's?" Ryan blinked, startled. "Yes. No. I mean, not from back then. A bunch of friends came over last year for a prayer meeting. Their kids were playing up there. One of them must have brought food in and left it." Emma's eyes narrowed slightly. "Using Rhea's bowl? Here?" "I had kept one of them in my kitchen, as a keepsake. The kids must have grabbed it," he said, quickly. "I forgot it was even up there." Emma didn't respond immediately. Something about his explanation nagged at her. He also remembered. "That box downstairs, the one with the other bowl, was already open. I thought they were all sealed." Ryan's expression didn't change. "That one was never sealed. I took the bowl out after you guys packed everything. I kept it on a shelf." Emma stared at him a beat longer, then nodded slowly. Okay. Back in the kitchen, she attempted to empty the moldy bowl, but as the contents slopped onto her shirt and jeans, she gasped, a mixture of horror and shame overtaking her. The smell was unbearable. It clung to her skin, her clothes, her soul. She scrubbed desperately at the stains, at the smell, but the mold had already soaked in. Tears spilled freely now, of frustration, exhaustion, and the deep, aching pain of seeing something so precious ruined by neglect. David entered quietly, took one look at her, and understood. "Hey," he said gently, "you okay?" "I'm not crying about the move," Emma said, gesturing at the bowl in the sink. It was her favorite, and now it's destroyed. He hugged her carefully, trying to avoid the worst of the mess. "It's just a bowl." But they both knew that was a lie. Ryan arrived with another box and paused when he saw the scene. "Oh no, I'm so sorry." Emma tried to wave him off, but Ryan was already suggesting a solution. "You can shower here. Use the main one upstairs." "No," she said firmly. "I'll use the one in the basement. It's closer. I don't want to taint anything." Ryan hesitated, just a fraction of a second, but it was enough for Emma to notice. Still, he nodded. "All right. There's a cabinet down there with some of my ex's old clothes. I'll help you find something." They descended together, shadows stretching along the floor as daylight slipped away. The basement was dim, the small windows offering only slivers of sun. Ryan opened a storage cabinet near the far wall and began sorting through hangers. "Here," he said, handing over a pair of jeans and a soft cotton t-shirt. "Sarah was about your size." He hesitated again, his eyes flickering as if tugged by an old memory. Emma took the clothes but studied his face carefully now, her intuition starting to pulse. An ache, a warning, a whisper that something wasn't quite right. "Don't take too long," Ryan called out with a casual smile. "Water heater's old." "Thank you, Ryan, really," Emma replied, accepting the borrowed clothes gratefully, doing her best not to inhale the mildew-stained scent clinging to her own. "No problem. I'll go help David with the boxes. If you need anything, it's all in there." He gestured loosely toward the cabinet. "Towels are on the middle shelf." As his footsteps faded up the stairs, Emma turned and made her way to the basement bathroom. It was humble but spotless, just a small shower, a toilet, a pedestal sink. She locked the door behind her and peeled off her clothing, the stench nearly making her gag. Rolling the soiled garments into a tight ball, she tucked them into the corner and stepped under the water. Though only lukewarm, it felt heavenly. Each drop rinsed away layers of dirt, grief, and confusion that had built over the day. She leaned against the cool tile wall, letting the water hit her back, her eyes closed, her thoughts racing. Then noises, footsteps, movement, soft but unmistakable, just beyond the thin bathroom wall. She stilled. "Ryan?" she called out. No answer. Yes, silence. She rinsed quickly, stepping out and drying herself with the towel. As she pulled on the borrowed jeans and t-shirt, she cracked open the door and peeked out. Nothing. The basement remained unchanged, quiet. The boxes stood where they'd been. Maybe the sounds had been from the neighbors. Sound did travel oddly in basements, bouncing through vents or pipes. Emma bundled her damp clothes into a plastic bag she'd found under the sink, then stepped out, ready to head upstairs, when a light blinked on in the far corner of the basement. It startled her. Not an overhead bulb, but the soft glow of a lamp. One she hadn't noticed before. Drawn by a mix of caution and curiosity, Emma moved toward it. Tucked behind old shelving, nearly hidden, was a large aquarium. The lamp above the tank now illuminated a miniature world inside. Vibrant plants swayed gently in the filter's current, and neon-colored fish glided lazily through the clear water. A small stool and side table stood beside it, creating a private viewing area. Emma's breath caught. Rhea. Her daughter had loved aquariums, had begged for visits to pet stores just to stare at the fish, nose smushed to the glass. And here, in this hidden corner, was everything Rhea adored. Goldfish, tetras, angelfish. Species Rhea had known by name. How had Emma never seen this? Why had Ryan never mentioned it? Not once in all their visits. Then, movement in the tank subtle, wrong. A fish floated at the surface, unmoving. Then, another, caught in the plants. A sickness passed through the serene image. Emma spotted a net hanging nearby and, moved by instinct, began scooping out the lifeless bodies. As she dipped deeper into the tank, her hand knocked the driftwood centerpiece. It shifted, and something clinked. A glint of brass. A key. Her heart skipped. She fished it out with the net, wiping it clean under running water in the bathroom sink. There was nothing unique about the key, just a simple brass one. But its location? Buried in a hollow piece of aquarium driftwood? Her pulse quickened. Why would Ryan hide a key? She scanned the basement, checking filing cabinets, drawers, even the breaker panel. No matching lock. Maybe it had fallen from Ryan's pocket, she told herself. But deep down, she knew that wasn't right. She climbed the stairs slowly, the key clenched tight in her palm. She'd return it to Ryan's room. That made sense. But his door was shut. She knocked. No answer. Of course, he was at their house now. She pushed the door open. Ryan's bedroom was, as she expected, neat, curated, controlled. She stepped in, meaning only to leave the key on the desk. But then, she saw the photographs. 3 of them, framed on the dresser. Photos of Ryan with Rhea. But something was wrong. Emma's knees weakened as she stepped closer. She lifted one of the frames with trembling fingers. It was Rhea, but not the Rhea who had vanished at 7. This girl, her daughter, was older. Her cheeks were more defined, the baby roundness gone. Her hair was longer, styled differently. Her eyes held a maturity beyond 7 years. She wore clothes Emma didn't recognize. She stood in a room Emma had never seen. Emma's breath hitched. She staggered, grabbing the edge of the dresser to steady herself. No, it couldn't be. But the more she looked, the more undeniable it became. This was Rhea, years older than when she disappeared. Emma prized open the photo frame, slipping the picture free. She had to show someone. She had to act. The key in her pocket now pulsed with new meaning. Was it connected? Had Ryan known where Rhea was? All along? Emma stumbled down the stairs, picture and key clenched tightly. In the kitchen, she picked up the phone, hands barely able to press the buttons. Castle Rock Police Department. "This is Emma Carlisle," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I need to speak to Detective Brennan. Right now. It's about my daughter." A pause. "Detective Brennan is out. This is Detective Mills. I'm familiar with your case. What's going on?" Emma's words spilled out, raw and fast. "I'm at Ryan's house. I found a photo of Rhea, older, and a key, hidden in his fish tank. I think something's very wrong." "Where are you exactly? Is Ryan there?" "No, he's at our house, with my husband." "All right. Don't confront him. I'm sending units to both locations immediately. Can you leave safely?" "Yes." "Good. I'm also calling your private investigator. Stay calm. Don't let him know what you found. We're coming." Emma hung up. Her whole body trembled. The photograph shook in her hand. It was Rhea. Somewhere. She crossed the lawn to her house like a woman walking through water, each step heavier than the last. At the door, she paused, steadying her breath. Inside, David and Ryan were maneuvering a box through the hallway. David looked up. "Hey, you look a lot better." Emma forced a smile, eyes glued to Ryan. He looked Normal? Relaxed? He laughed as he directed David through the doorway, as if the world hadn't just turned upside down. "I brought the bowl over," Ryan said. "Didn't want to assume, so I figured you'd decide what to do with it." She stared. He looked back at her, open and easy. A mask perfectly fitted. "Emma," he prompted, waving a hand gently. "Did you hear me?" She blinked. "Sorry. Just thinking." "Should we retape this box?" he asked, gesturing, "or leave it open?" Emma swallowed hard. "No need." Then she looked at him, looked through him. "Ryan," she said carefully, "is there something you want to tell us about that box? Did you open it?" He blinked, confused. "No. I told you. It was already open." "You didn't open it?" David cut in. "Because I taped every single one. I remember." And in that moment, as silence fell, Emma saw it again. That flicker, just the smallest crack. Emma stared at Ryan's face, searching desperately for something honest. "Is there something?" she asked softly but firmly. "You haven't told us?" Ryan's eyes narrowed, his confusion shifted into defensiveness cloaked in irritation. He laughed, but it wasn't warm, it was sharp, almost mocking. "What are you talking about?" he snapped. "Emma, are you okay? You're acting strange." That's when it happened. The sound, piercing and unmistakable, ripped through the stillness. Police sirens, multiple and getting louder. From all directions. David froze. "What's going on?" Ryan's skin turned to the color of chalk. His eyes flicked toward the window, calculating. Lucille stepped into the room, dish towel still in hand. "Why are there police? I hear sirens." Emma's body acted before her mind caught up. Her hands shook as she pulled the photograph and the key from her pocket. "I think Ryan has something to explain." David stepped forward, taking the photo. His eyes widened as the image registered. This is Rhea. But she's older, much older." Lucille leaned in, her breath catching in her throat. "She looks 10, at least." David pulled the photo from his wallet for comparison. His favorite, the one of Rhea in her blue pageant dress, her crown askew and her smile radiant. When placed side by side with the new photo, the truth was undeniable. The girl was the same, but aged, years older. Lucille turned to Ryan, her voice trembling. "When did you take this, son? Where was this picture taken?" David's voice was low now, dangerously even. "Answer her, Ryan. Where's Rhea?" Ryan's mouth opened, then closed. No words came, just silence. Outside, red and blue lights splashed across the walls as squad cars pulled up, tires crunching against gravel. Officers approached the open doorway, weapons holstered but posture ready. A familiar figure stepped out of a dark sedan, Frank Morrison. "Police," one officer called out, knocking on the doorframe. "We're looking for Ryan Carlisle." In that split second, Ryan moved. She bolted. Emma's voice cracked through the air. "He's running. Back door." Chaos erupted. Officers sprinted through the house, boots pounding. Others swept around the sides of the property. Through the window, Emma saw Ryan burst out the back door and slam directly into a wall of officers. He tried to dodge. He failed. They tackled him to the ground. David grabbed his head with both hands, fingers twisted in his hair. "What the hell, Ryan?" Lucille crumpled onto the couch, sobbing so hard her whole body shook. Emma dropped beside her, arms wrapping around her like scaffolding, holding up a crumbling building. Frank Morrison entered the house, calm but alert. "Mrs. Carlisle, may I see the key? Where exactly did you find it?" Emma handed it over with trembling fingers. In the aquarium, inside a hollow piece of driftwood. Detective Mills followed behind him. "We need you to show us. Now." "We'll stay," David said quickly, eyes on Lucille. "She's in shock." Emma nodded and led Morrison and Mills back to Ryan's house, the weight of the key pressing into her palm like it was fused to her. Everything looked different now. The street, the stairs, the basement. "This is it," Emma said, pointing to the tank. "That driftwood. It was inside there." Morrison and Mills examined the aquarium setup. They opened drawers, peered behind furniture, tapped the walls. Then Morrison noticed something. "Look at the floor," he said. "The water stains. They're behaving oddly here." Mills knelt, brushing his fingers along the concrete. "There's a seam." He looked up. "This section lifts." Together they prized up the disguised trap door. Beneath it lay a heavy metal hatch. Mills inserted the key. It turned smoothly. "Well oiled," Morrison muttered. They opened it. Below, a tunnel. Narrow, barely enough room to crawl. "I'm going in," Mills said, grabbing his flashlight. Emma's chest burned as she listened to his progress, each shuffle in the darkness like a countdown. Minutes passed. Finally, "There's another door," Mills called out. "Combination lock, 6 digits." He crawled back, covered in dirt. "We'll need the code." Morrison radioed in. "Is Ryan talking?" The response came quick, negative, refusing to cooperate. Mills sighed. "We'll break it if we have to, but it'll take time." Back outside, the scene was surreal. Police cordons, flashing lights, neighbors watching, whispering. Emma found David still holding Lucille, who looked 20 years older than she had that morning. "Basement found a secret tunnel," she whispered. "In the basement, another door. It's locked. We think it's where—" She couldn't finish. Detective Mills knelt beside Ryan's patrol car. 6-digit code, tell us." Ryan stared at the floor of the cruiser. "He's silent." Morrison pulled Emma aside. "We need to try meaningful numbers. Birthdays, anniversaries." Emma thought aloud. Nothing clicked. Then her eyes landed on something. The bowl. The ruined Hello Kitty bowl. She walked over to it slowly, like approaching an altar. Turning it over, she traced the numbers etched into its base. 384729. It hit her like lightning. Ria's favorite bowl. She wouldn't eat without it. Ryan didn't take it as a keepsake. He took it because she still needed it. "Mr. Morrison," she called, urgency crackling in her voice. "I think we have the code." She handed him the bowl. A try 384,729. Morrison looked at it, then at her, and nodded. Detective Mills looked skeptical, but gave a brief nod. "It's worth a try." This time, David insisted on coming. Lucille, pale and trembling, refused to be left behind. "I need to be there when my granddaughter is found," she whispered. Together, they returned to Ryan's house. The trapdoor in the basement remained open, revealing the dark tunnel below like a scar that could no longer be hidden. "I'll go," Morrison said, already sliding into the narrow crawl space. "If it works, I'll call." They waited in breathless silence. Then, from within the tunnel, faint but distinct, Morrison's voice. It worked. The doors opened. And then, something else. A child's voice, muffled but heartbreakingly familiar. "Uncle Ryan? Can I visit the playroom today?" Emma collapsed to her knees. Her heart stopped. Morrison's head reappeared. "You need to come. Both of you. She's asking for Ryan. If she sees a stranger, she'll be afraid." Lucille gripped Emma's hand. "Go," she said, her voice breaking. "Bring our girl home." Emma dropped into the tunnel, crawling forward on scraped palms and knees. David followed close behind. The space was tight, cold, and smelled faintly of damp concrete, but ahead there was light. And Rhea. They reached the door, now standing open. "Rhea," Emma called softly, her voice quivering. "Rhea, sweetheart." A figure stepped into the frame. A girl, older than the last time Emma saw her, but unmistakably Rhea. Her blonde hair had darkened with time, her limbs lengthened, her eyes unsure. She looked at them in disbelief. "No," she whispered. "This is a dream, just another dream. I'll wake up and—" Tears pooled in her eyes. "Baby," David said, voice cracking. "You're not dreaming. It's us." "No." Rhea shook her head, backing away. "Uncle Ryan said, you died. In a car crash. That's why I had to stay here. Because no one else would take care of me." Emma stepped forward, slowly, her hand outstretched like one might approach a scared animal. "We didn't die, Rhea. We've been looking for you every single day for 3 years." Rhea's breath hitched. Her hand hovered in the air. Then she touched her mother's fingers, and in that moment, everything shattered. She collapsed into Emma's arms, sobbing. "Mommy, Mommy." "I've got you," Emma whispered, cradling her child. "I've got you." David wrapped around them both. A family, whole again, though bruised by years they could never get back. After long moments, David gently pulled away. "Honey, Grandma Lucille is upstairs, and there are kind people who want to help, to make sure you're okay." Exhaled. Rhea blinked. "Why? What happened?" Emma exchanged a painful glance with David. "Sweetheart, Ryan lied. He shouldn't have kept you here." "No," Rhea said softly. "Uncle Ryan, he's nice. He takes care of me, brings me books and toys and food. He reads me stories." "Good people," Emma said. "Don't lock children away. They don't lie to them." Raya's face began to crumble, her trust unraveling thread by thread. "He said people wanted to hurt me because I won the pageant," she whispered. "He said they would take me away and sell me." Eva's heart broke again. "He lied to keep you here. But you're safe now, with us." A beat of silence. "I used to eat from my Hello Kitty bowl," Rhea said, "but then I lost it. Uncle Ryan said he couldn't find it." "I know," Emma replied. "We found it. That bowl helped us find you." And with that, they led her out. The journey back through the tunnel was tight, slow, but every crawl forward brought them closer to daylight. When they emerged, the room exploded into applause, from officers, medics, neighbors. Lucille surged forward, pulling Rhea into her arms. "My baby, my precious girl." A paramedic knelt beside them. "Hi, Rhea. I'm Casey. We'll take you to the ambulance, check you over. Your mom can come, of course." In the ambulance, Rhea sat bravely as they examined her. She answered questions quietly, saying Ryan had never hurt her physically, never touched her inappropriately. Emma wept softly. That, at least, had not been stolen. Tests confirmed signs of malnutrition and vitamin deficiency, but no immediate emergency. A pediatrician would need to run further exams, but for now she was cleared to go home. Back at the police station, under the sterile hue of fluorescent lights, they gathered in a small conference room. Rhea collared beside Lucille, while detectives briefed Emma and David. "Ryan confessed," said Detective Chen, voice tight. "He claims Rhea came willingly, that she followed him because she trusted him." Emma scoffed. "She was 7. That's not consent." "We agree," Chen replied, "but legally we have to document everything. He lured her with the promise of a gift, used his familiarity to avoid suspicion. He never used his own car, likely rented one under another name. He planned this." David's voice was hollow. 3 years. He built a room, hid her, lied to us, celebrated holidays with us, and all along she was beneath our feet. Chen nodded grimly. He told her you were dead. He created a world where he was her only safe place. Emma shook with anger. Why? If not for abuse, what did he want? Mills hesitated. We believe he saw her as a symbol, a trophy. He wanted to preserve her before the world could ruin her. Emma's stomach turned. Needs help, she whispered. Serious help. You couldn't have known, Chen said firmly. He fooled everyone, even us. A knock at the door. Ria and Lucille entered, followed by a CPS worker. She's asking for her parents, the woman said softly. Emma didn't hesitate. She gathered her daughter close. She's clear to go home, CPS confirmed, but she'll need therapy, lots of it. You'll have our full support. Detective Mills added, We'll need statements later, but today, take her home. They left the station surrounded by officers, not as suspects, but as survivors. In the cruiser, Ria sat between Emma and David, small fingers gripping theirs tightly. All this time, David whispered as they pulled onto their street. She was 10 minutes away. Emma nodded, numb. And we were dining at Ryan's house, with her right beneath us. Lucille turned, voice breaking. I should have known. A mother should know. No, David said firmly. Ryan deceived us all. Then, from the back seat, a small voice. Are you mad at me for going with Uncle Ryan? Emma turned, heartbreaking all over again. Never. You were just a little girl. You trusted him because we did. None of this is your fault. What happens now? Ria asked. Emma met David's eyes, answering gently, Now? Now we go home. Your real home. The one that's been waiting. Is my room still there? David smiled through tears. Every inch. As the car turned down their street, the sun dipped low, bathing the houses in golden light. The same trees, the same yards, the same porch where Emma once waited, praying for a knock that never came. And now, Ria was coming home. No longer hidden, no longer lost, but found.